What's up, Keep Pounding crew? We're back today with another video. Keep pounding. Today's topic is: can the Carolina Panthers still have a slight chance of making the playoffs if certain things happen? If so, what will happen then? And what will it take to get there? Hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that bell, select all, leave a comment down below if you feel like doing so. And don't forget to check out the Facebook group page, Keep Pounding in all caps, for in-game posts, polls, opinions, and reactions to NFL news, as well as scheduling for the channel, and, of course, the Yahoo Sports Fantasy Football League. And also, as a reminder, it is the Facebook group page, just so everybody remembers. Alright, so let's get into the content. I have on my screen behind me the playoff machine for 2023, updated through this week. So, let's take a look at what would have to happen in order for things to go our direction. As you know, the Eagles are pretty much locks. San Francisco is a lock. Detroit is pretty much a lock as well. So is Dallas. And I would say the Saints are as well. So everything you see here is pretty much a lock. The AFC is a little bit wild, so we're not even going to look at that. We're only concerned with certain teams in the NFC. Alright, so let's assume that the Panthers win every game from here on out, except for the Jaguars. Let's go ahead and plug that in. So the Panthers would max out at 7 wins for the rest of the year, which would be a total of 8 if we could beat the Jaguars as well. So let's assume that we do. And I'm going to talk about how that might be possible later. There's your 4th seed if we went out. It is still possible, folks. But let's see who might be in our way. That's best case scenario if we win all these games. Who's going to stand in our way here? You got wildcard teams of Minnesota, Seattle, Green Bay, and I would venture to say possibly the Vikings as well. So let's see what happens to these teams. So as you've seen today, Green Bay beat Detroit, and the Dallas Cowboys beat Washington. Expected? Not really on the Green Bay game. I thought the Detroit Lions would actually get it done, but ultimately I don't know if it's going to make a difference or not until we start digging through. So, let's assume the Seahawks get beaten by the Niners. That's AFC, that's AFC. That is also AFC. So let's assume that the Colts beat the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Saints beat the Falcons. That won't be a threat to us. I'm not worried about the Giants at this point. Rams, Cards, pretty much out. I don't see them coming back. Eagles, Bills won't affect us. This one will. Alright, so if the Vikings do win this game, it knocks us out. However, if the Bears win this game, things start to get a little bit more interesting. Because we're looking at that 7th seed right there. That's where we're targeting. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can get that 7th seed, things can get real interesting very quickly. But, again, considering it's the Bears, I'm going to give the Vikings the benefit of the doubt here. That's fine if the Vikings win that game. Now, moving on to week 13. You've got the Dallas Cowboys over the Seahawks. You've got Detroit beating the Saints. How about the Jets beating the Falcons? Putting us back in 4th seed. How about that? But how long can we stay there? Let's assume the Dolphins win that game against Washington and knock them completely out. Let's say, for instance, the Eagles beat the Niners. That's just going to switch those two around. It's not going to make a difference for us. Alright, so Chiefs beat Green Bay. Green Bay pretty much won't be a factor for now. And we beat the Buccaneers. So moving on to week 14. We need the Raiders to beat the Vikings, or will it matter? We shall see. Niners beat the Seahawks. That's 2 losses Seattle is taking there. Notice their record. It goes down to 6-7. Things start to get real interesting from here. So Seattle is one of the main common denominators we're looking at. At this point, Vikings have won enough to win the 6th seed. So we're not concerned with them. Eagles beat the Cowboys. Green Bay somehow gets back in the hunt with a win right there over the Giants. Lions beat the Bears. And here's an interesting one. Atlanta beats the Buccaneers. I see that happening, folks. Either way, Falcons will not be a factor for now. So now, as we continue on through here, we have only hit the NFC teams. So, week 15. Let's go. We beat the Falcons at home. Let's assume that happens. Alright? Vikings win. They retain 6th seed. Locking it up with 9 wins. Broncos somehow surprised the Detroit Lions there. I'm going to call that one. Because Detroit's playing really, really well. Cleveland's going to beat the Bears. I'm looking for the ones that will affect us. Okay, so let's say Green Bay beats Tampa Bay. There's a fight for 7th seed right there. But if the Buccaneers win, Seattle's still there. Look at that. I'm going to give credit to Green Bay. They've already reached 7 wins now. Okay, so Saints beat the Giants. They retain the crown. And we're sitting at 7th seed. Okay. So as we continue on here, San Fran wins against the Cards. Obviously, Washington beats the Rams. Dallas wins against Buffalo, because I believe Dallas actually does have enough firepower to beat Buffalo at this point. We shall see. Eagles knock out Seattle out of the race with their win over them. Therefore, that is all of the games that affect us in Week 15. Moving on to 16. Starting from the top, Saints win again. Soft schedule against the Rams. Saints have the softest schedule in the NFC South right now. And let's assume we get past the Green Bay Packers here. But what happens if we don't? Green Bay takes the 7th seed. This is a major trap game we cannot afford to lose. We got to take that one. Detroit will take care of business against the Vikings. That's not something we need to worry about. Jags will beat the Buccaneers and knock the Buccaneers out of the race. I'm not so much concerned with the Cowboys and Dolphins game. That's not going to affect us at that point. So, Niners win, Eagles win, obviously. So, we're moving on. Week 17. This is the critical week. Now, if we cannot beat the Jaguars, that puts Green Bay in the 7th seed. There is a shot where we can catch the Jacksonville Jaguars unaware and unprepared. There's a chance. Also, there's also a chance that Minnesota beats the Green Bay Packers on that Monday night. But it's not enough. Because guess what, folks? Green Bay's got 8 wins. And even though we beat Green Bay, they're still ahead of us. And I would venture to say that's points for, points against. When you're talking about why the Green Bay Packers beat us out right there. Even though we beat them out and we have the same record. But there's a little hiccup here. They are 8-8 to this point. We would be 8-9. And see, this is why that 1-9 starts to derail us. So if we beat the Jags and the Vikings beat Green Bay, we got 7th. For now. Saints win, obviously. Detroit and Dallas is going to be a fun one. So, you got San Fran. You got Seattle. And you got the Falcons beating the Bears. Interesting, right? For now. That puts us in a position where we have to win against the Buccaneers. If we do not win against the Buccaneers, guess who takes that 7th seed? Seattle. So, let's assume we win all of these games. We got to win out from this point forward. I see Green Bay beating the Bears. I see the Lions knocking down Minnesota, so they're out of our hair. You got San Fran winning again against the Rams. And the Saints and Falcons game. If the Falcons should somehow win that, it won't matter. They're a game behind us. Saints win, Falcons are out of our hair. Which I think will happen. Eagles will beat the Giants. Seattle will beat the Cards. And that is all she wrote. So Seattle then becomes the problem. So let's go back and let's take a look at Seattle's games. Seattle is playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. What if the Steelers win this game? Which is highly possible, considering the Steelers' defense is playing exceptionally well right now and shuts down Seattle's offense. Okay. We go back to week 16. What is Seattle doing here? Against the Titans, they're going to win. That puts Green Bay in the driver's seat. And as far as we know, Green Bay will be beating will be losing to the Vikings on that Monday night on week 17. In week 18, Green Bay will be beating the Bears. Let's make no mistake about that. So, week 16, we beat the Packers, yet they still hold a points for and points against favoritism over us. So what can we do to amend that? Well, let's check the board. Green Bay plays Tampa Bay. What if Tampa wins that game? That puts Seattle back in the driver's seat. Okay. So you got Seattle losing to the Eagles. So there's nothing more we could do there. So we'll go back to week 14. Seattle's already losing to San Francisco. What is Green Bay doing? They've got the week off. With an easy Giants team. Well, what if the Giants somehow surprise them? Not gonna happen, right? Let's be realistic. So let's go back to the 13th week. Green Bay loses to KC. Okay. Seattle loses to Dallas. Nothing more we can do here. So then, we come back to week 12. We got our win against the Titans. Green Bay has already now defeated Detroit. So there's nothing more we can do there. But what about Seattle? Seattle's losing to the Niners. So, realistically, our chances are very, very slim. Now let's say the Saints slip up with their soft schedule. They've got the Falcons. They've got pretty much a bye week in week 13, I believe, right? No, they are losing to the Detroit Lions in week 13. So, week 14, what are the Saints doing? Let's take a look. Saints lose to us. We retain that. Week 15. What are the Saints doing? Saints will be beating the New York Giants. That's going to happen. Regardless of what else happens on the schedule, the Saints will be beating the Falcons. And the Giants, most likely. Although the Falcons could surprise them. You never know. Okay, so let's take a look at Week 16. Saints battle the Rams. Easy win for the Saints. Not happening. Week 17. Saints battle the Buccaneers. Well, would you look at that? What if they take that L? Week 18. The mighty Saints. If they should take those two losses against one of those two losses against Atlanta, we're in. It is possible, guys, that they could get swept by the Falcons. Now, I'm not going to say how big those chances are right now. But man, oh man, we need a Saints and Falcons split. That's what we're going to need. Because I see if the Falcons sweep the series against the Saints, let's assume they do, then we're looking at the Falcons. Okay, what are the Falcons doing? They've got that win right there. They only need to take one more loss for us to get in. They took that loss against the Jets in week 13. But what if the Bucks even things back out? Oh. Looky there. You never know, guys. You never know. What might happen here? If they take that loss to the Colts, things get spicy, ladies and gentlemen. Things get spicy. We got a lot of possibilities here, man. And like I said, it's still there. It's slim, but it's still there. I think we got a better shot at the division than the wild card spot at the moment. So if we are hoping to get the division, then there's a few things that need to happen. First, the Saints need to beat the Falcons this week. That needs to happen. Either way, it won't matter. Now, you talk about week 13. The Saints need to lose to Detroit in week 13. We need to beat the Tampa Bay Bucks. We also need to beat the Titans this week. The Falcons would then need to lose to the Jets in week 13 in order to make this possible. Even if the Falcons manage to beat the Bucks in week 14, we still retain 4th seed. As you can see, because we beat the Saints in the Dome. Now, it's important to note that. Alright, week 15. We beat the Falcons in week 15. Now, what are the Saints doing? They're going to win against the Giants. Let them win. Not our problem. Week 16. Saints win against the Rams. Not our problem. If we take this Green Bay game. Now, if we don't, we're out. So, Falcons and Colts, either way, the Falcons cannot win that extra game. They cannot get to 9 wins. We cannot allow them to. And this is all assuming we actually catch the Jaguars off guard and actually win this game. Falcons beat the Bears. Who knows? It's a wacky NFL season. What if the Bears actually win that game? Who knows? That puts them a game behind the 8 ball. But they're going to win. Let's be real. Saints, if they lose to the Buccaneers, that opens the door for us. If they win, they take 4th seed. Week 17. Now, let's assume week 18, we beat the Buccaneers. And the Falcons beat the Saints in week 18. This is where it matters. Now, if the Saints win this matchup here in week 18, then in week 12, we would need the Falcons to beat the Saints this week. So, one of those two situations, it needs to be a split. Either way, it needs to be a split. I don't care how that split happens, it cannot be a sweep by either team. Otherwise, we're out. So there you have it. There's our playoff opportunities. Now I'm going to tell you how this could be possible. And I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, and this is going to be debatable. The first thing we need to do is fire Frank Wright. He and Josh McCown are not developing Bryce Young correctly, and it is detrimental to this offense. Frank Wright also does not know what he's doing play calling wise, and it is detrimental to this offense. The next thing that needs to happen, either Deuce Staley or Evero needs to take over as interim. If you put Evero in charge at interim, this means that you are going to need to find a new defensive coordinator. If you put Deuce Staley in charge, that means you can put our current offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown, into assistant head coaching spot. That would mean that you now have an opening to bring back Joe Brady. Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey would then take over this offense, and Ken Dorsey would fix a lot of the problems that we have going on with this offense. He has proven that he can be successful at quarterback coach here with Cam Newton. He has also proven that he can be successful in Buffalo as an offensive coordinator. Now, being that is the case, we have never had an offensive coordinator as well as a quarterback's coach. He could be both. He could do both. It is possible. I've never seen it done in the NFL, but it is possible to do that. There's no rule against it. You know, you got Belichick as a head coach and a GM, so why not? As far as I'm concerned, it's possible. Um, then I want to see us sign immediately Andrew Norwell. We need to put him back on the offensive line. We need to put Cade Mays in, experiment with him, make sure he's good to go. If he can't cut it, then Andrew Norwell needs to come in. Point blank, period. We have got to fix this offensive line in whatever ways that we can. And Zavala's not it. Throckmorton was not it. We need to find a spot for that tackle spot that works. All right? So, with that in mind, the very next thing we need to do is call in the offensive line coach and the D-line coach into the office and ask them what they're teaching these players. Because it is obviously not working fundamentals wise, footwork wise, hands wise. These guys would be next on the chopping block. So, that being the case, we'll see where we go from there. I also want these players taught how to tackle properly, better angles, and better tackling attempts. So, from there on, we'll see where we go. But I think that if you were to make these changes immediately, you will find a successful offense at the end of this road. That is going to do it. Thank you so much. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And it finds you happy, healthy, and well. Keep pounding.